Learning to play guitar is simple. You just buy a decent guitar, find a competent professional teacher, start practicing what she tells you to, and don't stop. It really is that simple. For years, I've listened to the hopes and dreams of budding music makers as we sat together in a consultation appointment. They're looking to me, the professional, to tell them what they need to do to play guitar with grace and ease. Of course, they always are quick to preface with some version of, I don't want or we deserve to be famous, or I only want to play with others if I'm good enough. Then, after I implore them to let their imagination rule and assume they did whatever it took, I hear how much it would mean to play and sing a simple love song to their spouse, jam with their friends on the weekends, create a simple song of their own, or retreat after a tough day at work and relax by playing a few routine tunes on their guitar in the comfort of their own home, taking it for granted. I'm often sincerely touched. Sometimes I'm confronted with how I take for granted this precious gift I have to be able to create, record, and perform my own original music. I'm also equally aware that it is not a gift doled out to only a few selected anointed people who are born exceptionally talented. Though learning to play guitar really is simple, it's not always necessarily easy. I hear story after story of how people create or ignore what could be described as obvious barriers to learning the joys of expressing themselves through music. I've done the same thing myself. It's from that place that I write this article, both to help you avoid the single most common and insidious pitfall, as well as to remind myself what I've learned and what I don't want to forget. Ideally, you're reading this either before starting out on your musical journey or at least in the early stages. However, even very experienced players can benefit greatly from the advice that follows. Looking for the quick and easy way. Everyone is looking for the magic bullet. It's built into our DNA, and rightly so. I certainly wouldn't want to be programmed to look for the most difficult way of doing things. Life would be nothing but struggle. Years of evolution has been ingrained in us to look for the easiest and fastest way to get something done. And the marketing world knows it. Need to lose a few? Just pick a pill or go on the newest, hottest diet. Want a degree? Sign up online and get it in a quarter of the time. Need a liver transplant? Stop by the new EZ Well outpatient clinic and they'll swap out one and have you home in time for dinner. Oops. Maybe not yet, but I see the marketing potential. You can blame the advertising world if you want, but they're really just answering to the demand that we as consumers have created. What do you think about these headlines I got off the internet? 10 easy lessons to play guitar like a pro. Or this one, be a guitar god in 30 days, and be a guitar god in 7 days. Same company. Rule the guitar neck by learning the 3, yes, only 3, killer guitar control secrets. Fast, easy, fun. Are you ready to sign up? I am. I like fast, easy, and fun. And I have signed up. Not specifically for this offer, but others in the past in different areas. The thing is, we all know deep down inside the promise is inherently flawed. Not that there aren't better and faster ways to learn than others. The flaw is in the concept that there's a way to get something of value without paying the price. I say inherent because we as human beings place value in things we know are difficult to obtain. The more difficult, when we watch a musician play a beautiful, intricate passage with ease and grace, we know it's taken years of dedication and practice to be able to do that. It's the dedication and discipline that we admire, not the notes themselves. It's who the person has become in the process, and deep down inside, that's what we want for ourselves. If a robot played the same passage perfectly, you might be impressed by the technology, but admiration would not be a part of the experience. We all know at some level that the real value comes through the process. When telling potential students about how I developed my guitar system, I somewhat jokingly tell them that if I could, I would put the information on a chip and implant it in their brains. Then they would immediately know what I know and have the skills that I've acquired over a period of 40 years, Sounds like fast and easy, maybe not fun. We laugh a little and say that would be great, but I know, even if most can't express it, that's not really what they want. What they really want comes from the journey more than the destination. During the process of learning to play guitar, they will confront their fears and inadequacies. They will develop patience, persistence, concentration, focus, and humility. Most of all, they'll experience the self-esteem that comes from taking on a challenge and following through. They will be a little closer to expressing who they really are in this world. There's no quick, easy fix that will give them this on any lasting basis. And it's as it should be. We are often just looking in the wrong place. Don't bypass the laws of nature. Tap into what's already there. What most people don't fully realize is the tremendous powers they already have built in. One of those powers is the ability to break things down to small doable pieces and persistently build one skill on another skill. Another is the incredible power of habit. Once set into motion, it tends to take on a life of its own, for better or worse. You can choose for better. Once you develop the habit of practicing, it can be easier to progress than you would anticipate. Finally, most of us underestimate the power of holding a vision in our minds of what we want and persistently working towards that vision. Developing that muscle, so to speak, is well worth the price of admission by itself. Hold a vision, create a plan, break it down to small steps, and start working on it. Make more decisions as you go, then don't stop until you're there. My daughter's story. When my oldest daughter Melanie turned 9, she asked me to teach her to play guitar. I was happy to hear this, and I suggested that it would be best if she took lessons from one of my instructors that I employed. My thinking was that she would benefit from a less personal relationship. To my initial surprise, she refused and told me if it wasn't with me, she wouldn't take lessons. I was recounting this dilemma to a friend over coffee one day. He asked me a question I'll never forget. He asked, "Are you sure you want to give up the opportunity to have your daughter listen to you uninterrupted for 30 minutes every week?" Then he asked, "What kind of difference could you make in her life if you took that opportunity?" That got my attention, and I pondered that question for days. After a few days, I felt compelled to undertake the challenge. I asked Melanie to give me a few months to prepare. You see, playing guitar was important, but I saw the opportunity to do even more. I saw this as an opportunity to teach my daughter life skills that would help her be successful in whatever she wanted to create for herself. The skill in particular I had in mind was the ability to break down a complex project into small sequential pieces, and then follow this plan until she achieved a worthy goal. Hold a vision, create a plan, break it down into small steps, start working on it, make more decisions as you go, then don't stop until you get there. Preparing the way. During the months before we started, I pretty much locked myself away in my home office and worked for hours and hours with one question guiding me. How could I organize my guitar lessons to teach this skill? The key came to me after a few days. What I needed was a model blueprint, in this case for learning the complex skill of playing guitar. By following this plan or blueprint, she would both learn to play guitar and have a mental model of how to break a complex project into pieces. I had been at that time a guitar instructor for 10 years and was considered quite good, but now I began organizing my materials and creating new ones to fit this new plan. I applied the learning psychology I had learned in college from the Yamaha educational system, a variety of personal development workshops and seminars. Also, my years of teaching experience came in handy, as well as my experience learning new skills as an adult. After several months, I ended up with a step-by-step system. Each step included some element of playing guitar and followed principles I had outlined from the beginning. 1, each needed to sound somewhat complete by itself and lead to a sense of accomplishment. And 2, it had to be sequential and prepare for more complex material in the future. I built in a review process as a way to provide every opportunity to master the fundamentals before going on to more complex material. From my experience of teaching, I found most students practice somewhat to around 50% skill level before moving on to new material. If this continues, most will eventually hit a wall and get stuck because they've never really mastered the earlier material. My idea was to get that to about 70-80% before moving on. Feeling of accomplishment. The other principle was to provide a clear built-in path to a feeling of accomplishment. When learning a complex skill like playing guitar, it's common to feel like you're progressing one day and feel like you're at a standstill the next. Sometimes you might even feel like you've regressed from the week before. Using the measurement of feelings is not a reliable indicator of your progress. What I set out to do was provide a clear roadmap that you could refer to at any time to see where you are along the path. If you were on step number 5, for example, you could see that you had progressed halfway through and you knew exactly what had to be done to complete the level. This is more objective than just wondering if you're progressing. The review gives the student a chance to experience their progress. When they go back to the earlier steps, most students find that they're easier than they remember them. It's because they're at a higher skill level. When they practice and successfully play all the steps, they usually experience a sense of accomplishment that comes from taking on a challenge and completing it. This prepares them both skill-wise and emotionally to a new set of skills and challenges. Making a difference. Through my desire to make a difference in the life of my daughter, the Starland Guitar System was born. Over the past 20 years, I've refined it, added to it, developed a teacher training system, and even created an online version called Real Guitar School, where I've adapted and refined the techniques for learning on the internet. Melanie took lessons for about 3 years and did learn to play guitar well. She told me later that I was a bit of a taskmaster. Though I don't remember it, she told me that when we were at home and she was relaxing, I would often remind her she should be practicing. Such is the downfalls of having your dad as your instructor. She did go on to become an enlightened, successful entrepreneur and businesswoman who is making a difference in the life of emerging fashion designers, visual artists, models, and musicians through her company, Graffiti Beach. Graffiti Beach. Shop graffitibeach.com. Real Guitar School. realguitaronline.com.